Thanks again for joining us at the 2021 Sloan Sports Analytics Conference Competitive Advantage Talks presented by KAGR, also known as Craft Analytics Group. My name is Jack Glassberg, and I'm a first-year MBA student at MIT Sloan, and it's my pleasure to introduce our presentation, Fan Engagement in the Time of COVID, brought to you by KAGR. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Tom Duncan, Director of Business Intelligence at the Sacramento Kings, to the stage.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you to MIT Sloan for having me here to share some of the work that we've been doing over the past year. And thank you especially to KAGR for presenting the talk and for being such a great partner of ours. As Jack mentioned, I'm Tom Duncan, Director of Business Intelligence here at the Sacramento Kings and Golden One Center. I've been with the team for about 7 years now, overseeing business intelligence efforts here. So wide range of initiatives that we help out with, but we'll focus on a few here specific to the talk. I did want to take a minute here and quickly highlight the rest of the team that I have the privilege of working with. Because their work is really instrumental to everything you're going to see here. So first we have Colin Warner, our Manager of Business Intelligence. He's in his third year with the team and comes from a background in CRM, but has really become a jack of all trades for us here over the past couple of years. And then Roger Srnkovic, our Marketing Automation Coordinator, is in his 14th year with the Kings, and while he focuses on kind of our marketing automation technologies, similar to Colin and the rest of us on the team, kind of a master of many different things. As we have a small team here, and we need to have that flexibility in order to do a lot of the work that's asked of us. So now that I've kind of shared the team with everyone, wanted to kind of dive into kind of crux of what I have to share today. So, as mentioned, we're lucky to be partners with KAGR, going on almost 2 years now, working with them. Our partnership launched in November of 2019. And kind of the partnership arose out of some pain points with an old vendor of ours, particularly on the data warehouse side. We had a pretty long relationship with another company, but saw some pretty acute challenges arise that we thought KAGR can come in and help us solve. In particular, outbound integrations from our data warehouse were challenging and didn't really leave us in a position to really act and segment on fan and customer data the way we wanted to. So think anything from bad CRM merges to just unreliable transactional data feeds and things like that. So when we started kind of looking for other options and had spoke with KAGR, we felt really good about their plan to kind of solve some of those problems. I've kind of outlined here the general approach and the phases of work that we did. And the first step was really to kind of rebuild that data warehouse environment and kind of outbound integrations into CRM and marketing automation. And then, as kind of went through that implementation period, kind of the relationship evolved into more of a strategic consulting one, where we have monthly calls with the team over at KAGR and are able to take a step back, maybe not focus so much on reactive issues or things that come up, and think big picture and how KAGR and the technology that they provide can solve problems for our business, of which I'll talk through some here in a second. So as with pretty much any organization in the sports and live entertainment industry, the last year has been really challenging. And for folks outside of those industries as well, I definitely don't want to make light of that. But our organization's primary goal over the course of the pandemic, as you can imagine, with no live events coming through our arena, Golden One Center, we had some pretty significant revenue streams to try and replace. But also, we were lucky enough to have our team play in the Orlando bubble during the league restart last summer. But after our time there, we had some pretty significant dead space where we didn't have too much to talk about with regards to the team, and we wanted a way to maintain regular engagement with our fan base. So couple of things I'm going to talk about here, promotions and initiatives specific to that time between our time in Orlando and the start of this past season, 2021 season. And then, the last thing I'm going to talk about, enhanced sales prospecting and segmentation, is more specific to looking forward and how we kind of get back to business as usual, hopefully post-pandemic. So the first initiative I'd like to highlight is one that was completely new for us. Doco al fresco is a new dining concept that we launched in the plaza outside of Golden One Center, which is our building in downtown Sacramento. And when Golden One Center opened in the fall of 2016, it was intended and has become sort of the anchor of our downtown scene in Sacramento. Shortly after we launched the Doco, our downtown commons area, which has a ton of different restaurants and retail institutions, which kind of has served as like really a hub downtown for people, not just on event days, but people that work downtown near the Capitol, come over, eat lunch, meet with people, gather in the plaza outside the building. It's really become an important part of the downtown area. So, when we were thinking of what we could do to kind of replace these revenue streams during the pandemic, we thought that a dining concept, outdoor dining concept, would be a good way to kind of try to get back to that in a safe and way that folks would be comfortable being able to do. Sacramento has great weather almost year round, so outdoor dining has become a way for many folks to kind of cope and socialize in a safe way during the pandemic. So our arena operations team, in conjunction with our marketing team and our F&B partner Legends, kind of came up with this concept, and via technology provided by a company called Roam, we're able to provide a way for folks to come down, sit, and order food and drink from 6 to 7 different restaurants in the Doco area on a single tab, and be able to pay for those through one single transaction. So that was kind of a big initiative for us, and we wanted a way to promote it properly. And considering we at the Kings have never really been in sort of the restaurant business or promoting that sort of thing, we had a hard time initially figuring out how to market this. So that's kind of where my team came in. We help a lot with targeting of our database, and thinking of different ways and to kind of get the message out for these types of initiatives. But none of that would have been possible without the technology provided by KAGR. In particular, I want to highlight their audience process, which is like a master data management type solution for customer data. So similar to a lot of I think other teams in pro sports, we work with a bunch of different partners and technologies that kind of take in customer data, think ticketing, F&B, merch, et cetera. And we want to be able to take these records and marry them to a single golden record where, we know who a customer is and kind of how they're interacting with us and doing business with us. So the audience process facilitates that. And, I kind of mentioned briefly earlier, one of the challenges we had with our prior vendor was, when data from our warehouse was getting pushed back into CRM, field or contacts were being merged erroneously. So two people that were completely different, had no business being related to each other, were getting pushed back as a single record in CRM, which really provided a challenge for our sales and service teams in terms of targeting and even just servicing our core customers like season ticket members. So one of the things we liked about KAGR's process was they have a much more conservative approach to matching. They want to be almost 100% sure, if not 100% sure, that two records are in fact the same individual, and we share that philosophy. I think we would much rather have 100 dupes in our CRM than to erroneously merge a single incorrect contact to someone else. So that's kind of what KAGR kind of brought to the table in this instance here. And like I said, having that data in CRM and then by extension marketing automation has really made a difference in our targeting efforts. So going back to Doco al Fresco, we kind of rolled it out a little quietly at first, not quite a soft launch, but we didn't come hard from a marketing angle right out of the gate. We highlighted a few times in our King's Insider newsletter and some other more general interest communications that we send out to larger audiences. But when we got to the point where we're really trying to drive revenue, like deliberately, to Doco al Fresco, we tried to think of a different approach and some different audiences that we could target. And some of the data sources that came in from this new integration with KAGR were instrumental. By the time we launched these standalone emails, we had a few weeks of purchasers that came through Doco al Fresco. So we had a little bit of a base to kind of work with and start sending like a regular standalone email out to these folks. But to supplement that, another partner we work with called MVP Audience, we use them a lot for lead gen type initiatives, and they have an integration with social channels, which allows to see brand affinities for folks that kind of use their Facebook or social logins to submit activations through their platform. We could see, what portion of our fan base, liked different local restaurants that were in the Doco area. So that was one particular audience that we thought might be a good target for this initiative. And then similarly, after about a month or so, we started to have live entertainment and promoting that on weekends down at Doco al Fresco. So we started to look at some of our concert ticket buyers and different genres to try and align with the type of music that was playing and kind of layering them into our targeting as well. We didn't structure this in a way where it's like a true A/B test where we can say without a doubt that there is some incremental push here, but there's pretty strong evidence that this approach really helped drive some incremental revenue. Once we started deploying these standalone emails, average sales on the weekends increased by 30 to 50% over the next month or so. We did look back and saw a significant chunk of those weekend amounts were directly attributed to emails that we had sent this standalone messaging to. So that was a really nice story to be able to go back and say, hey, like this approach is working. And then, kind of as we went, email engagement was our primary driver for future emails. So we didn't want to just keep spamming people with the same messaging if it wasn't relevant to them, at the risk of having them unsubscribe and losing the ability to market them completely. So we wanted to be mindful of that, and I'll talk a little bit more in the next bit how we kind of quantified that. But we sent subsequent emails to only folks that opened or clicked on an email, just again to try and minimize that likelihood of unsubscribing for messaging that wasn't relevant to them. Even though we were sending these emails to fewer people, we were able to keep sales roughly flat over the course of the next several weeks, which I thought was interesting. Kind of lent more evidence to a more selective targeting approach being best here. Kind of as we went forward in the fall, we approached, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday period, which for many industries is obviously a big time. But for us in particular, this has been a very much a tent pole type promotion that we used to drive a lot of single game tickets or just general ticket sales for King's events and also concerts. This past year, obviously that was not an option for us. But we wanted a way to kind of still execute the promotion, and while we're not going to be able to make up all the revenue from ticket sales, because historically it's made up about 80% of the sales we've seen from this promotion, we still wanted to try and drive some incremental revenue across the channels that we could market, think merch and things like that, while also learning a little bit more about our targeting strategies and how we could refine them moving forward. So really kind of the secondary goal here was to how do we quantify loss of future revenue from unsubscribes. It talked a little bit about selective targeting and risking unsubscribes and don't call fresco. We didn't want to just blast people with Black Friday, Cyber Monday messaging and risk not being able to market to them down the line when when we're in better position to kind of host fans and have events in our building. The tool that KAGR has provided to kind of help us quantify that is their customer lifetime value model, or CLV model. At the core, the model predicts future 3-year revenue for every ticket buy in our database. And that's just basically configured to kind of our existing data that lives within the warehouse. My understanding is that they can build this off of different revenue streams as well. But at the time this model was built, that was kind of the main revenue stream that was represented in the warehouse, which again represents the vast majority of the revenue that we see tied to live events. The model incorporates a bunch of different demographic information, behavior, engagement data to kind of predict out 3 years what we can expect to see from an average fan at the contact level, which is key here. And the model did make adjustments for COVID to be a little bit more conservative, given not everyone's going to be comfortable returning to live events right away once it's safe to do so. What we saw kind of from our Black Friday and Cyber Monday promotions is that the selective targeting actually led to higher engagement on average. So average open rate increased by about 2% from 11% to 13%, which may not seem like a lot, but when we're dealing with small proportions like that, that's actually a pretty significant jump. So we were happy to see that. But more importantly, going back to those two goals I mentioned earlier, the merch revenue from this promotion, increased by about 66% year over year. So we were driving more revenue through that channel by essentially emailing fewer people, which was really interesting. And when we looked at the CLV model and kind of the cost of folks that unsubscribed as directors of all these emails, what we lost in future revenue is a fraction of what we had seen from the prior year when we went back and kind of married those model outputs to the unsubscribes that we had seen from the prior year. All good things here, and kind of gave additional evidence to this more precise targeting strategy really being the way forward for us, and having data points to share, because as folks who work in the industry, imagine a lot of folks want to go really wide with messaging especially for big promotions like this, but to be able to say no, let's be a little bit more selective, and we may not make as much money, but we'll preserve future revenue, I think was really compelling. And lastly, I only got a couple of minutes left here, but did want to quickly touch on kind of how we're looking forward now. It's obviously the pandemic's really taken a toll, and we're looking and hoping to next season as being a time when we can really get back to business as usual, or as close to usual as we're going to ever get. Using KAGR's technology in the warehouse and these integrations into CRM and our marketing automation platform are really critical for more efficient targeting and outreach for sales campaigns. In the past, single game ticket buyers have represented anywhere between 50 to 70% of our season ticket member prospects in a given year. So not having anyone in our building this year, that's a huge pool of folks to replace. Obviously lead gen becomes a big component there, and thinking outside the box, which our marketing team has done a great job leading the charge on. But being more efficient and smart about who we're targeting from our existing database is even more critical. And the folks at KAGR really helped us out on that front. I kind of touched on this earlier, but having cleaner CRM data really leaves our team more time to think about strategy and targeting, and having that align with different events and initiatives over the course of our sales cycle. Colin, manager at my team, like I said, we have a small team. He he has to serve as our admin in the platform. And like he's very, not taking away from that at all, but like I would love to have him spend more and more of his time thinking about more strategic initiatives. So the warehouse and outbound integrations and the audience process has really kind of enabled that for us and for Colin. And kind of lastly here, new data sources and models have been, absolutely integral in our targeting efforts. Having these new data points to look at and kind of uncover diamonds in the rough, so to speak, has been really helpful. And so far, like, the results have been encouraging. We're really early in our sales process, but already over the first 6 weeks of our new sales campaign, we've seen the number of deposits placed actually increase over the same period last year, which is an amazing result when you consider all the headwinds kind of facing these efforts in our industry in general. So I think I'm at time, and that's really all I had to share here. Thank you again for listening, and to folks at MIT Sloan and for KAGR for having me out. And I hope everyone stays safe. Thank you.